ஆமா சார்.
ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணல.
ஓகே சார், ஓகே சார்.
காணிக்கை சார். காணிக்கை சார். ஃபாதர் அருளானந்தத்தை வந்து பேனலிஸ்ட்ல போட்டு விட்டுருங்க. இப்ப இசெட்ல தானே இருக்கு. அவருக்கு வீடியோ அக்சஸ் ஆகலன்னு சொல்லிட்டு இருந்தாரு, செக் பண்ணிக்கங்க. ஓகே சார், தேங்க்யூ.
Having a place to go is home. Having someone to love is family. Having both is a blessing. I feel happy to welcome you back to St. Joseph's College. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar session on food and nutritional security in indigenous food system. On behalf of Botany Department, I wholeheartedly welcome our Rector, Secretary, and Principal Father for today's session. It's my pleasure to express my cordial welcome to our Dean, School of Biological Sciences, Head Department of Botany, and respected professors of Botany Department. Welcome, sir. At this juncture, I'd like to welcome Dr. Kanike Raj, Associate Professor, Department of Physics, St. Joseph's College, for this session. Welcome, sir. I also extend my sincere welcome to the faculties of various institutions and participants from different countries such as Iran, Iraq, Kuwait, Indonesia, etc. Last but not least, I'm happy to welcome the man of this session, Dr. R. Anandan, scientist, National Institute of Nutrition, Hyderabad. It's our pleasure to have you amidst us in today's session. Welcome you, sir. Once again, I welcome you all to this session. Thank you. May I now request Reverend Father John Peter Arlanandam, Assistant Professor of Botany, St. Joseph's College, to introduce our resource person.
Respected HOD, the organizers of this webinar, and all the participants, good afternoon to all of you. I'm happy to introduce the speaker of this particular session, Dr. R. Anandan, Scientist D, ICMR, National Institute of Nutrition, Hyderabad, Telangana. Dr. R. Anandan earned his PhD in botany from Bharatiyar University, Coimbatore. He is working in the food chemistry and nutrient analysis since December 2004. His main area of research work is food composition analysis. He is one of the authors of Indian Food Composition Tables 2017. The Indian Food Composition Tables 2017 does not contain an exhaustive list of all foods consumed in India. Food composition tables are never complete due to the constant introduction of new foods into food supply, discovery of food components that are associated with health and disease, and continuous improvements in analytical methods and techniques. Therefore, analysis of Indian foods will be continued to enlarge the database according to the need. He is working in the area of quantifying bioactive phytonutrients and measure their free radical scavenge capacities in functional foods. He also works on food biodiversity and food systems of different indigenous populations to study the availability and accessibility and consumption pattern for the food and nutritional security of the population. He has obtained guideship in the Faculty of Biochemistry as well as Nutrition from Osmania University. He has published 31 research papers both in national and international journals. Right now, he will be addressing us on food and nutrition security, role of indigenous food system. Welcome, you, sir.
Now the session is over to Dr. Anandan.
Hello.
Sir, now your mic
Hello.
is on, sir. Yeah, you
Yeah,
are
yeah.
audible.
Okay. Can I start?
Yeah, yes, sir.
Yeah. Good evening to one and all. Thank you so much, Professor, for the nice introduction. It's a pleasure to meet all the fraternity of botany and zoology through this webinar. Of course, I don't know who gave my, the contact, but when Anusya madam contacted me, I said immediately, okay. Though there are many people, they approached me earlier because I have always very big bond, or I have respect with the botany, as I am from the botany background. As Professor introduced, father introduced at the beginning, I am graduated up to PhD in the Bharatiyar University. That is one of the main reason I accepted for your invitation. Am I audible?
Yes. Yes, sir,
Okay.
you are audible.
Thank you. Sure. And another one of the importance, most of my professors are from your college. And so I am students of your college students. That is another one importance, because this is one of the opportunity to have my experience to share with you people all. This is the today's talk which I have given, the food and nutrition security, the role of indigenous food system. So before going to the main topic, let me begin with the quote by our beloved former father of nutrition in India, Dr. C. Gopalan, who lived almost 101 year, and he passed in the last 2019 March. So he always urged the people to look to the farmers, not the pharmacy. So always he prefer the food for the health. So second thing is the pharmacy or the nutraceuticals or the other the pharmacological factors for maintaining our good health. And as in the introduction remark as a father made, my main area of research is Indian food composition database development. I'm working in this field since 2004 onwards. I have worked very extensively for the development of this Indian food composition table, which consists of more than 500 commonly consumed foods, consisting of more than 150 chemical components, which includes the nutrients, phytonutrients, all other important phytoactive principles. Why I'm giving, if many of our viewers, if they doesn't know about the food, this food composition tables, so you can download it from the website ifct2017.com. This is one of the important composition database for our country, which used extensively by the dietitians, the nutritionists. This is a Bible for them. And I can proudly say that our food composition table This is the one of the best composition table, contains completely analytical data. And we have the laboratory, the state-of-art laboratory, to carry out all these nutrients and the bioactive chemicals which we have given in the tables under one single umbrella. And that is the reason our laboratory is recognized by even FAO, WHO. So we are the referral lab for those people. And apart from that, many other SAARC countries also we used to provide the support. I'm also the coordinator for the SAARC Foods associations, where I used to support for the capacity building of their country's food composition tables. I have supported for the Bangladesh. Currently, I'm supporting for the Sri Lankan food composition database development. It is underway. In another 1 or 2 months, that will be completed. I'm the consultant of recognized by the FAO for the the food composition analysis, in where I used to give the support for the method development, validation, and this kind of capacity buildings. So this is my brief background. I used to work with other factors also, and that one of the factors, one of the areas of my research is the indigenous food system. Coming to the topic of today, the current alarming challenge of this millennium is, this is the biggest challenging, there are more than 1 billion poor people still they are suffering from the hunger and malnutrition. Among them, about 2 million people they are undernourished, or they are very deficiency in the micronutrients. On the other hand, the same kind of people, the same amount of people, they are overnourished or obese. So this imbalance is there mostly in the developing, also in the developed countries. Including this, the Sustainable Millennium Development Goal given by the United Nations, which includes mainly 8 goals. Among the 8 goals, the first goal is to eradicate the extreme poverty and the hunger. This is one of the major hunger. What we can suspect, or we can challenge this one, the food-based strategies are one of the key role to address this kind of global hunger and malnutrition, and also to maintain the biodiversity in the not only the food system, also in the environment. Thereby, we can ensure that the food security and adequate nutrition and health for the public. It may be from the cultivated food system through the agriculture based, or uncultivated through the forest generated, or less familiar through the forest produces. Whatever it may be, the food which provides the good amount of nutrients, it's good for health. So coming to the current food practice, so the conventional or the cultivated agriculture food system, which we adopt mainly to tackle the increasing population, that is very, very important. But in this food system, so we have adopted a lot of technologies, agriculture technologies, and a lot of policies to increase the food productivity, mainly to tackle or to feed the growing population. In that case, we concentrate mainly on some selected foods. If you look at the 70% of the world foods, we are getting only from the 12 plant food and 5 animal species. And in particular, only 4 major crops which feed almost more than half of the world calorific intake, those are all, the rice, wheat, maize, and potato. In addition to that, from 1900 onwards, almost 75% of the plant genetic diversity have been vanished. So this is the food groups and the various food nutrients. If why I'm telling always the food and the nutrient security, just to give the glimpse, I wanted to show these slides. Like there are so many food groups. We can, whatever the foods, I mean these foods are the raw foods, not the processed foods. So all the foods we can categorize into these different groups. We call it as food groups. Likewise, there are nutrients, macronutrients, micronutrients, now the bioactive nutrients. All these nutrients, they are categorized in various things. Both are important. The intake of different food groups, intake of variety of nutrients are very important. But if you look at the data is available with our data source NIN, National Nutritive Monitoring Bureau. This is one of the bureau which monitor the nutrient intake and the nutritional status of population across the country, which recorded. It shows clearly that the consumption of selected food groups are higher than the other food groups. Similarly, if you look at exclusive consumption of millets and cereals, in this cereals and millet consumption also, you can see only the rice is dominated across the age groups, starting from 4. This is a 4 to 6 years, and this is a 7 to 9 years, and this is 10 to 12 years. Everywhere you can see either the rice raw milled or parboiled. So this is with a reference to our own database collected by the NNMB. Even you can see adolescents, adult more than 18 years. Everywhere there is a consumption of rice is dominated among within that particular food groups, that is the cereals and millets. And these kind of, the homogenized food consumption, it is increasing because of our growing population. But this increasing homogenized intake of these kind of foods, it's not only unhealthy for the people, also for the environment. And this kind of shift in this narrow based food system, obviously it's narrowing or homogenized for the food production. And this simplified and lack of dietary diversity. What I mean to dietary diversity means, as we saw in the previous slides, the consumption of only the selected foods. That's the reason I showed the food groups. The consumption of foods across the different food groups will give more dietary diversity. When you are consuming only the selected food groups, it's very less or lack in the dietary diversity. So these kind of simplified diets and the lack of dietary diversity will lead to undernutrition or overnutrition. And this system not only disconnecting our cultural food, traditional food system, also serious threat for our future food supply. And the important thing is there is a need for the sustainable approach to provide the food and nutrition security for current and future generations. Eventually, if you look at our past traditional societies, they used, variety of food practices, which include the dietary diversity, which was adequate for their nutritional requirements. So these food practices automatically gives the food and nutrition security. This kind of traditional food system, it was there much before the nutrition intervention programs and all they started. But it was slowly, it's reduced. However, despite the rapid urbanization, currently it is going on, many of the diversified foods or food diversity or a lot of variety of foods still forms an integral part. It's consumed by many indigenous people even now. For example, that is the one of the topic which we are going to discuss. There are almost 370 million indigenous people have been estimated worldwide, and they are culturally considerable, maintained diversity they are maintaining, and the indigenous peoples attached profound importance and commitment to protect their land and access to the food resources, which promote the benefit of local food as well as to enhance the food and nutrition security. So there are some definitions I just wanted to emphasize for the students, for undergraduate and for postgraduate students. These are all the definitions or the terminology which we are going to use in the study. Indigenous foods is nothing but the people, indigenous people should have the access in the local without having much on the purchase, and within the traditional knowledge, they use the traditional knowledge to collect and use these kind of foods, and most of the foods available are the cultivated or it's grown in the natural environment from either natural farming or wild harvesting. The food security. Food security is nothing but a situation that exists when all people at all time have physical, social, and economical access to sufficient, safe, and nutritious food that meets their dietary needs and food preferences for an active and healthy life. This is given by FAO. And coming to the nutrition security, this is to secure access to an appropriate nutrition diets, which comprising all the essential nutrients what we listed: macronutrient, environment, and adequate health services, and all the household. It's not only the particular selected members, for all household members in the family has been defined as nutrition, as well as the nutrients. I wanted to emphasize once again, if you are maintaining or when we are taking the foods belongs to all the food groups, then that is food security. And when we consume different types of all the types of nutrients which are required for our health to maintain the well-being, consisting of all macro and micro and phytonutrients, are called nutrients. Then coming to the nutritional adequacy, this also is one of the terminology we use. The adequacy is nothing but adequate intake of essential nutrients, what we listed in the last slide, which is needed to fulfill nutritional requirements for optimal health, which is measured. This is either to maintain the balanced physiological conditions or to prevent the diet-based or the nutrition-based diet associated diseases. So this also is important, and this adequacy generally we used to compare with the the nutritional recommended dietary adequacy or recommended dietary intake. These are all the different indicators when we wanted to study for the food and the nutritional security. Availability. What is the availability of the foods? The availability of the foods, it's depending upon the production and the technology in terms of the normal or the cultivable food system, agriculture based food system. So what is that what kind of technology we are using to increase the production, and the reduction or how much the precautions we are taking care in the post harvest technology or the method in order to avoid very great loss, like so many factors like onion or chili. There are so many foods. The post production or the post harvest is very, very important. So then automatically the availability will be enhanced. The accessibility. again the percentage of surplus amount of foods in the market is, it will encourage, or it will, the accessibility will increase. And the household foods insecurity, like when the people are access to have more foods, and that time also automatically our accessibility will increase. And in order to increase accessibility, we also can increase the market supply, the utilization or the consumption, also very important. The utilization, when we consume with dietary diversity more or less, that needs to be studied. I'll come to the point in the later slides. And we have to measure the dietary intake. So these are all the different components generally we used to study when we wanted to understand the food and nutrition security of any kind of population. And this also will encourage the food resilience for the vulnerable population. And this is an index to measure the food insecurity, that is a coping strategy index. But across this border of all these indicators, availability, accessibility, utility, when we are increasing this, then automatically the reduction in the malnutrition will occur. So this is the main reason why we wanted to study. So with this background information, I will enter into our actual study where we have conducted in Northeast India. Why we initially conducted the Northeast India, as most of us, we know that one of the mega hotspots in the northeastern states, which is lying from eastern Himalaya, and then obviously the second hotspots biodiversity we have in our, the Western Ghats. And moreover, the northeastern states is covered by 75% of the forest and inhabited with the various indigenous peoples. They reside in the uphill area or the lowland valley, and most of the indigenous peoples still they include the indigenous foods or the less familiar foods or the forest produces in their daily diet even now also. So therefore the understanding of this indigenous food system is very important, which also will give how it is important to correlate the food and nutrition security, where the different components we saw in the previous slide. That is the reason in this presentation we have studied like two different indigenous groups. One we have chosen in the uphill area, that is a Khasi. We have chosen the West Khasi hills, and then the lowland area, it's a Métis, one of the non-tribal communities in the Métis in the northeast, because generally in the northeastern states mostly occupied or the inhabited with the tribal indigenous population. The Métis or the one of the non-tribal indigenous people, mainly they reside in the lowland valley. They are from Manipur. This is the first study area, Meghalaya, as all of you know that. And here, here we have taken the West Khasi Hills. So from the West Khasi Hills, we identified 12 randomly selected villages based on the population, Census 2011 Census population, starting from lowest population to highest population. So then we went to each villages and then we conducted. Similarly, the Manipur also, Topal and the Bishnupur districts we chosen. And among the two districts also, these are all the lowland districts, and we identified 12 villages randomly. And after identifying these villages, as I told, based on the population, we group into the 4 clusters, like the quarters, 4 quarters, 25, 50, 75, and 100. And each quarter we have chosen 1 or 2 villages. And then as soon as we choose the village, we will communicate to the respective village headman through the Anganwadi centers or the ICDS offices. and then we will make our own logistic arrangements, and we will inform priorly what kind of survey we are planning to do. Everything we will inform. We will take the informed consent of each participants of the households, each households or the village headmans. We will explain to them. So after arranging all those things, we do the work in three different manner, three phase. Like initially, we do the focus group discussion where we invite mainly the knowledgeable women about the indigenous food system, and some even the gents also will be there in the discussion if they are having more knowledge on the indigenous food system or the consumption of food system. Then the second stage is we will do the household list of acquirement of the availability, accessibility, and the consumption pattern of each foods. Then we do the health status or the nutritional status. The nutrition status, we do basic anthropometry by measuring the height and weight to measure the BMI of the subjects in order to correlate the food security or the accessibility, availability of the foods with the the nutritional status. And we also measure the diet consumption by 24 hours seasonal and 24 hours and seasonal recall. That is a weekly recall and monthly recall or yearly recall. And this will be done in every 8 households of the previously what we conducted the anthropometry. So this is in order to understand the diet consumption or diet intake of the households. And as I told in the previous slide, so the data will be collected in the each levels, like during the focus group discussion. So we can get the list of all the foods which they explain to us, like these are all the foods during this season, and whether it is available or not, and how it is accessible, whether they consume or not. All those qualitative data will be recording during the focus group discussion. And the information on the indigenous foods also they will explain in the primary stage, and then secondary stage we also will confirm the later stage. And when we do the household seasonal recall, and we also will come to know what is the different seasons and what are the different foods available in the different seasons, all those things. And the 24 hours recall or the diet recall will give the data in the food biodiversity. When it comes to the food biodiversity, as we all know that biodiversity, which comprising of all the flora and fauna, the same thing here also in the food, which comprising of all the plant, animal, and microbes in the sense the fungal, the mushrooms and other microbial foods. So this is called the diversified foods. And in order to in order to understand the degree of biodiversity or the food biodiversity, we used to use Simpson index and species richness. These are the different data which we used to collect. Coming to the result, what we did, so we have assessed the current availability, accessibility, and the dietary utilization of all the foods which is consumed by both the Khasis tribals and Métis non-tribal indigenous people. And we have conducted the very comprehensive composition analysis of all the foods which we collected, because this is one of the important components to link the nutrition status and the nutrition security of the indigenous people. So we have conducted, we are very extensively we have worked on the food composition table. Then we also did the relationship between the dietary diversity and the nutrition status. Then we have evaluated the nutrition status and its relationship to the food system of the community. finally, we prepare the compendium of the whatever the foods used by both the indigenous population. Coming to the field, this is some of the photographs. Just I wanted to show you people. So initially, this is the focus group discussion. She is my student. So we used to gather all the women, those who are having the knowledge, and there very few gents also will be there. So we will be asking the questions, the open-ended question I asked. We will be asking the questions, they will be answering, so everything will be listed. And so these are all the sum of other. This is a household 24 hours survey, and this is anthropometry measurement. And so even we have to catch those people whenever they are available. Even we used to go at night time after 8 o'clock, because most of the peoples are the farm workers, and either we have to go and get them before 8 o'clock in the morning, or after 6 o'clock in the evening. So these are the few photographs which we captured in the field. Yes. So these are all the different foods. You can see the varieties of the leafy vegetables, which are all mostly from the forest producers. And these foods are identified, the taxonomical identification conducted with the support of Botanical Survey of India, Shillong, and up to the varietal level. Because in order to understand the diversity or the food diversity or dietary diversity score, we need to understand, we need to identify these foods up to the variety. Then these identifications are the genus, species, and variety, how we can use it in the dietary diversity score or DDS score. So I'll show you in the next few slides. So these are all the different indigenous leafy vegetables which we collected from both Meghalaya and Manipur. So these are all again the leafy vegetables. You can see so many new indigenous vegetables mainly consumed. It's all, there are seasonality also is involved with this. So they cultivate or they produce, they bring from the forest and then they consume in the regular diet. So these are all different green leafy vegetables. And these are all some rice. So you can see here all the hand pound rice. They use only raw rice or the brown rice without polishing like other parts of India. Their major consumption is rice, so they also cultivate. They have little plain areas they used to cultivate, and they themselves process this rice and they consume. They also consume a lot of tubers. So many tubers are they bring directly from the forest and then they consume, which are very rich in the fiber and the carbohydrate. And again, these are all some of the other vegetables and fruits. All these forest produces is integral part of these two indigenous community of Meghalaya and Manipur. These are all some of the other foods. Again, this is spices and condiments. They use some of the spices and condiments, and some oil seeds. So mainly they use the perilla seeds for the oil. And the Manipur people, they use regularly the fermented fish. This is one of the processed food. They ferment the fish and they eat like a pickle, what we use in the southern parts of India. Every day they use this fermented fish. And this is again some of other roots and tubers and leafy vegetables, other vegetables, fruits and oil seeds, all those things. And this is some of the other spices and condiments which is collected from Meghalaya. So these are all the different foods which we have collected. Some of the photographs I have given, but I can show you the list of all the foods which we have collected and then prepared the food composition analysis. And so coming to the importance of the identification up to the species or varietal level, where we can compute for the understanding the dietary diversity score. What we did, we identified the foods which is with the help of Botanical Survey of India, Shillong, and those identification we converted into the numerical 8-digit numerical.